Today, what we're going to talk about is a spiritual principle. For those of you that are in the books, you should have already read chapters 1 through 4. Should be keeping you moving and grooving in the positive. And I'm hoping that not only are you listening for our Saturday or waiting for our Saturday classes to learn more principles and to get more insight, but you're also reading on your own and getting insight. Now, let me say this to you. As you continue to go deeper and learn more, you're going to have people that's going to challenge you. You're going to have people who are going to disagree with your pursuit of getting financial knowledge simply because it's not common. Whenever you try to do an uncommon thing, you can expect uncommon fights and discouragement and opposition. So I want to come from this particular text because the Lord led me to give you a supernatural principle today. And the first thing I want you to look at is Exodus 16. Exodus 16. The second verse says, "And the whole congregation, people of Israel, grumbled against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the people of Israel said to them, would that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the meat pots and ate bread to the full, for you have brought us out into the wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." Now, the first thing I want you to identify and understand, beloved, is that the Bible talks about the entire group. I mean, not just a few folk and not just a couple of folk. The whole congregation began to murmur and complain and grumble against their human leadership, which is interesting because Israel, being raised in a monotheistic society, coming out of a polytheistic society, who understood that kings operated by this idea of divine leadership. Divine leadership is not a new concept, all right? It's a common concept that led them and guided them in their actions and in their dealings. But the interesting thing here, according to this context, that when they begin to get frustrated and upset, they tend to forget that it was really God who guided them to this place. Now, what's interesting is, financially, God will lead you to a place of barrenness or the wilderness, because that's normally his university of financial and life management, all right? God typically doesn't train while all things are going well. God typically doesn't give insight when everything is moving in the positive. God typically only trains you in the places, watch this now, of barrenness, of lonesomeness, and also, not only that, it's the place where you seem to have the least amount or none of what he's trying to prepare you for. You think about this entire generation. They didn't have any spoils of their own. Matter of fact, they didn't have any lands of their own to farm. They didn't have much to offer but that which they were able to carry. And the interesting thing is, when you leave one country and you come into another country, the currency that you have may or may not even be valid. So you may have nothing more than expensive toilet paper. And so I'm saying that because principle number one, I want you to get this and capture this, is that when God brings you into a place, what you had before normally will hold no value in the place you're going, and even in the place in which you are being trained. And so it's important to understand that your methodology, the ways in which you manage and the ways in which you got around before, how you used to do things, your old methodologies will not be current or even hold value in this new system or in this new culture. And the one thing about money, if you understand it properly, you realize there is no such thing as money. There's a thing called currency, but in reality is nothing more than influence. Influence is the ability to persuade or convince or to trade with a person in order to get something that you want. And that's all money is. If we have X amount of dollars, we can then exchange X amount of dollars for a certain amount of food or a certain amount of products. But that's the way it works. We have to learn how to understand the viewpoint of the resources we have also in the land that we're dwelling. Some of you may have come from different places, different spaces, and now you live in somewhere different completely, but you're trying to see if your old ways will get you further or will allow you to produce or allow you to progress in this place. In the place of training, it's intentionally barren. Because if you could figure out the land, there will be no need to be trained or to understand. And so you may find yourself now in a place, a dry place, where you have just enough just to live. And you're wondering, when is this overflow? When are the promises coming? When are the provision coming? When is all my debt going to go? The question is, what are you learning? Are you submitted to the process of education, or are you just in it to win? And so that's very important for you and I to understand and ascertain, because if we do not, we will find ourselves dwelling like the Israelites did, going around this mountain. And they said it's because they were complaining. In reality, it was not just complaining or mumbling, but it was the reality of them not being willing to learn. And so God's answer to folk who didn't want to learn is they just going to have to die off. And what does that have to do with your finances? It has a whole lot to do with your finances, simply because when God moved you, he moved you for a reason, not that you might move the whole town and your whole support system with you. When Abraham was moved from a place, he just told him to go. But he brought other folks with him, which then began to cause him havoc along the way. Many of us are so generous that we like to see our callings as everybody else's blessing. For an example, you know, you see them folk who, they get out the hood and they say, well, I'm going to come back and I'm going to bless everybody. But you never ask the question, why did God send you out and not bring them out? And so some of us can't get blessed with a significant blessing because we would already spend it on folk who God has not designated to receive that level of favor for nothing. There's a cost for financial literacy. You have your materials. Some of you have spent $150 to buy your materials. Some of you have not. But those that have, there's no reason. It didn't make you smarter because you bought it. It didn't increase your financial literacy because you purchased it. But it will help you to grow and understand God's will and God's way if you apply the principles. That's the problem with a lot of us. We know a lot, or at least we think we do. And then we fail to add the new information that God has generously given us so that we can live a better life. All right. So let me continue on. This place of training is a place of barrenness. So what is God stripping away? Huh? What can't live with you in this ocean? Huh? That's the question. What can't live out here in this wilderness place? What keeps dying when you try to plant it? What relationships won't last? Huh? In the desert, there are certain types of fruits, certain type of vegetables, and certain type of animals that can live in that climate. Why is that important to know? Because the climate is different, the atmosphere is different, everything won't live there. Everything won't make it there. And so until you learn the lay of the land of where you are, learn about your training ground, learn about the processes that occur in this place, how to get along in this place, you will find yourself fighting because of your ignorance, not because of the place. And you will find yourself staying longer simply because you don't understand the lay of the land. One thing that I found as well in the desert, if you stay in it long enough, everything starts to look the same. And so you find yourself going and walking in circles, not realizing that you've never gone anywhere, just because everything looks the same. And until you can discern and put markers here, and see, this is extremely important in building and in training. So you have to say, number one, I've learned what credit is. I understand the demonicness or the demonic reality of interest rates. I understand now that loans are never good. I will not do a payday loan. I will not do a big loan. I won't do a mortgage loan. Why? Because I can get a process to avoid them altogether. These are things that I've learned. I've learned the value of cash. I learned that I don't need to do this every time, or I know I should spend money this way, or I understand that it doesn't make any sense to buy a sandwich on a credit card because I'm paying it consistently. I'm paying more than it's valued. I understand the value of products. These are markers so that you know you're not going in circles to have to repeat the same lessons. I understand when Buki come calling and asking for money. I realize this Negro ain't got no money, so I ain't gonna never get it back. So I need to stop giving it as a loan and realize it's nothing but a gift. These are markers that you have to learn financially. Man, lights. So, with that being said, are there any questions, concerns, thoughts, or comments? This is your chance to ask any question. Come on with it. Let's go. All right. Well, I'm grateful for those of you that have joined us tonight. I pray that God bless you, that He meet every need in your life, and I pray that you learn. I pray that God will continue to stir you up, and I pray that you're studying your lessons well. And I want you to meet us back on the line tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. for prayer. I want you to be blessed, be encouraged, and know the Lord is with you. And we will see you again in the morning. Be blessed, love.